Hello and welcome to the Help Is Here podcast, brought to you by the Beyond Compulsion Academy. Today I'm going to be talking about why cutting down on your pornography use may not be working. So I was in a porn addiction for about 10 years and I got so sick and tired of these constant ups and downs in my life where, I kind of felt like, all right, this is it now, never going to relapse again. I'd go like a few days or a few weeks, at the very best of times, a few months, and then I'd relapse again and I'd be, feeling really ashamed, frustrated with myself, and I'd kind of have this motivation again. It's like, right, that was the last time, never going to do it again, go on another streak, and then lo and behold, I would relapse once again. And I was just stuck in this cycle for years and years. And I got so fed up with it that I basically came to a conclusion that, okay, maybe I just need to manage this problem. Like maybe I just need to kind of control the addiction. So not let it get too out of control. Maybe once every few weeks is all right. If it's every few months, perhaps that's progress. And that was kind of my mindset. I even got to a position where I sort of believe that, all right, if I'm talking about this openly, like if I've got a podcast talking about it and I'm only doing it every few months, then I'm doing well, because at least it's not like 7 times a day or something ridiculous, right? So that was my mindset back in like 2023. And I had this podcast called the Finally Quit Porn podcast. And then I one day started to have like more and more guests on the podcast. One of them was someone called Mary Paulus, who, if you've been a listener for a while, you will know pretty well as well. And yeah, she kind of called me out on this way of thinking. And she was like, look, Tom, I heard one of your recent podcasts. You said you relapsed. All right, you've got some work to do here. Like, you're still in an addiction. And I know this sounds so obvious, but I think the repetition of hearing this is important to you, which is that if you are still relapsing, you are still in an addiction. Like if there's a behavior in your life that you want to stop and you keep on going back to it, despite telling yourself that you're going to stop it, there's a problem there. And, whether you want to call this an addiction or a compulsion or whatever, I suppose that doesn't really matter. My point is, it's a problem. And like that was the truth for me back in 2023, is there was a problem in my life. I had a problem with porn, and maybe it wasn't an addiction. Okay, let's say it's not an addiction. Let's just scrap that word. Doesn't really matter what you call it. I had a problem with porn in 2023 when Mary Paulus came on my podcast and told me, look, Tom, you relapsed recently. Like you've still got some work to do. Now, what I just want to get across in this video is why doesn't like cutting down work? Why doesn't managing, controlling the addiction work? The thing is, and this is the most essential thing, and we teach this in a very specific way within the Beyond Compulsion Academy, but the thing is that every time you relapse, you strengthen those addictive neural pathways. There's this misconception that people relapse because they're tired, they're bored, they're stressed, they're lonely, they don't have enough purpose in their life, or whatever, right? Like maybe they go through like a breakup or some really tough times at work, or they get sacked or whatever, right? And people say, oh, that's why I relapsed. And then they might go to therapy and try and explore all of that stuff. But the thing is, the real reason people relapse is because their mind is involved in a psychological, emotional dependency on a mind's mood-altering experience. Essentially, they've been wired to want to watch porn, usually from a really young age. I mean, I was like 12 when I first started watching porn. That is crazy young. Like, think about how young a 12-year-old is. You're not even fully developed to that age. Like, you've not even hit like your peak in height. Like, you've not necessarily even gone like all the way through puberty. I probably had some squeaky voice back then. It's just mental to think about the fact I was 12 watching porn. So I wired my brain. I developed this psychological, emotional dependency on this mind's mood-altering experience. I continued to want to watch porn, and I had a problem with pornography. And it was only when I got taught how to deal with that desire to watch porn, in those moments when in your mind all you're telling yourself is like, this will be the last time, or I'll just do it and then I'll start again tomorrow. It's in those moments that you've got to start to face some truths and like think through that decision in that moment in a really, really logical, rational way. Because if you fall for the lie, which is what I did, that you can just do it like once and then you're going to stop. Like if you fall for this idea that you'll do it one final time or that once won't hurt, if you fall for that lie, you're probably going to stay in the addiction for the rest of your life, because that's what would have happened to me. Like if I had have kept on telling myself like this will be the last time, or once won't hurt, or just like one peak, then I'll stop, or any bullshit like that. Like if I fell for those lies, I'd still be in the porn addiction right now, because every time you engage in that behavior and you experience that mind mood altering experience, it's like you strengthen those addictive neural pathways, and that's what leads to the desire. Like this is the thing, is every time you relapse, that's what creates more desire in the future. People don't just, one day wake up and end up escalating into some extreme kind of porn. What happens is they wire their brain to want to watch porn. They act on that desire and they develop a tolerance, and over time, that repetition, it leads to people looking at things that often don't even align with their values and feeling a lot of shame around it. So this is a problem that we have, is that a lot of people minimize their porn use and then they try manage and cut down and reduce frequency, but it never really works, because all you end up doing is intermittently reinforcing the addictive neural pathways. Yes, you may do it less, but often it's still a problem in your life. And I really needed someone to just be direct and honest with me and tell me this back in 2023. And that's really what made the difference for me. And I started to take a completely new approach. I underwent a lot of training from Mary Paulus. I learned the Beyond Compulsion method. And I faced the truth that acting on that desire just once is the thing that creates more desire. That's what leads to you staying in the addiction. And if you want real freedom from this problem, I really think this is just one of the many truths which you have to face, sooner rather than later, to get free and stay stopped and feel really good about that choice in staying stopped. So thank you for listening. I hope this can kind of be a bit of a wake-up call for you as well, as I know it was for me. A few years ago. And if you'd like to learn more about the Beyond Compulsion method, if you'd like to undergo the same training that I've undergone, then you can book in a one-on-one discovery call with myself to explore that a little bit further. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.